Hi, everybody, and welcome to Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. I am Carmen DeValis and founder of Doggies for Dementia, which is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. And today I am really excited to welcome Ron Nevelow, who is, gosh, he's got a long list of things, and I want to say he's got a great sense of humor too. And yes, Vice President of Business Development, founder and also clinical trainer for Inspire Senior Care, which is a mental health practice. Welcome.
Okay, we got to say co-founder, because when the other founder hears this, she's going to get upset if she thinks I said founder.
Co-founder. Good point. Yeah, and today is so important because we're going to talk about some prevention and all kinds of great things that we can do for our bodies and our brains to stay at our best. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
I have to have you on board, Ron.
Yes, don't you?
Good. Yeah, it's good. And so, yeah, we're both a little, I don't know what the word is for it. It's such serious things, but we also have to have a little bit of fun. But listen, so there are 5 really, really important things that we need to do for overall health. And let's dive into the first one, Ron. Which one do you want to talk about first?
So what we're talking about is brain health.
Yes.
So there's a lot of information out there right now about what to do to keep a healthy brain and to avoid dementia or slow it down. It's all the same stuff. The problem with the internet is that anyone can post anything, and a lot of things out there people may think are useful, and the research isn't backing it up. And what I can tell you is that globally, research is showing 5 things to be effective, and only 5. So let's take number 1, and this is not in any particular order, even though if you ask the experts, they're going to tell you the first one, if they only had one to choose, this is the one they're going to pick: exercise. So one of the things I can tell you is anything good for the heart tends to be good for the brain. And so what I tend to tell people is when I'm talking about exercise, I'm talking about get the heart moving, particularly if they are mobile. I would say aerobic exercise would be ideal. And I would do 30 minutes a day, every day, if at all possible. And with seniors, it's not always possible. You know that.
Yeah. So get the heart moving, and aerobic, meaning like walking, swimming.
Anything like that. I tell people all the time, the easiest one's walking. Like we work in senior living communities. That's our niche at Inspire. And, you know, they don't need to wait for a class. If they're allowed to walk around their community, that's all they need to do. And sometimes I hear people go, well, it's too hot outside. I'm like, stay indoors, just walk around your community. Most communities have a good size to it. And most people, you know, what I found for myself is I walk a lot longer when I have something to do. So I tell people when they're walking, bring a friend with them. They can have a nice conversation, because usually people aren't going to notice how long and how far they walk if they're talking. They're not focused on how long it is if they're busy doing something else. Like for me, I listen to music or I'm watching TV if I'm on a treadmill, something like that. It makes it easier for me. But if I have someone to walk with, yeah, I can go a lot further.
Yeah, especially the case if you're walking around the same place over and over. Like some of the communities, if you go around 2 or 3 times, it's like, oh, same thing again, right? And
yeah, you know, one thing that's really useful for our higher functioning seniors is if they are able to get out and drive somewhere or have someone drive them, find a mall. If you can get into a mall, now you're people watching and you're shopping while moving.
Right.
So the malls are really good places because they're air conditioned, they're wide open. Even during the pandemic, you can do them. They're wide open, they're cool, and you get a lot of different things to look at. And if it's a big enough mall, you walk on different floors, so you're not getting the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. And I bet there are a lot of people just waiting to be able to leave their communities in order to do that again, because with the COVID situation, a lot cannot leave or have visitors or anything, and it makes it really tough. And they're probably just really anxious to get out and see some
Absolutely.
things
And,
again.
and you know, even with the limitations, one of the things I hear a lot when I talk to experts or listen to them talk is focus on what you can do. There's so much you can't do as you age and as your mobility is limited and as you start to have some health issues, or now with COVID and the limitations we have, it's too easy to get caught up on what we can't do. So my recommendation is, what can you still do? You know, so if someone's like, well, I'm using a walker, I can't walk and I can't drive around and I'm not allowed, I'm like, then what can you do? That's what you got to focus on. Exercise to get the heart moving is excellent for the brain.
Yeah, so what do you think about some of the chair exercise for people who aren't as mobile to be able to walk easily, or maybe they're fall risk, you know, and have dizziness or something like that?
Well, that's why I said anything you can do. So when you've got someone who is mobily impaired, like in a lot of communities, particularly assisted living or memory care communities, when you get someone like that, that's why a lot of these communities are having exercise classes where they're doing chair exercises. Now, if you're mobile, I would choose walking over chair exercises, but if balance is an issue or walking is difficult or you just can't, anything to get the heart moving is what's recommended.
Good. Okay. Including yoga and some of the stretching type things.
Anything to get the heart moving is good for the brain.
Yeah. And it's so important to do the stretching before you go out and walk and things anyway, to get your muscles warmed up and all that cool stuff. Okay. Number two. And these are
no
two
particular
of the
order.
5 important things for brain health.
There we go. Second thing you can do that research is showing good on is social interaction. Now, the interesting thing of the 5 I'm giving you, that's the most controversial one. If you looked at the World Health Organization, they're going to say this might be, but not definitely. But when you look at studies that look at a variety of things that are working, the people that are socially interacting are doing better brain health-wise. When they do studies just for social interaction, those results are mixed. But the studies that are more broader in nature consistently show that the people that have healthier brains are also much more socially engaged. And it makes a lot of sense to me because you're using a lot of brain activity to engage socially. You know, you're using parts of your brain, whether it's you're speaking, you're listening, you're processing, your focus. There are a lot of different things going on. When you sit at home and you're not interacting socially, not only are you not using those things, but you're also more likely to get depressed. I mean, another thing I am is I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So I'm a mental health provider. And I can tell you that being a senior and sitting in your home day after day and doing nothing and not interacting with people at all, even virtually, it's just not a good idea. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your brain health.
Yeah, we are certainly seeing that right now. And those of us in the field, I was too, and as a nurse practitioner, but just the same, I'm seeing people with depression and worsening cognitive problems secondary, that I thought if we can get the depression cleared up and the anxiety improved, even an improvement in each of those, we saw an improvement in their cognitive abilities. And so that was a more temporary response to what was happening. And
well, it's interesting also that sometimes it's hard to know, is it a brain health issue, like an early cognitive impairment, or is it depression? Because depression can result in short-term memory loss.
Right.
So which is it? And you can't really know. So you got to treat, typically you treat the depression and see if that can take care of it, though you can work on short-term memory anyway, but yeah, you got to be aware of what's going on. So during the pandemic, when we're particularly in senior living communities, when they're not supposed to leave their room, once again, then what can you do? So what can you do? You get on the phone, right? You, if you know technology, then you get on a Zoom call or you do a FaceTime. If you don't know it, get someone to show you how to do it or to help you do it. If you're the family member that wants to engage them and they don't know, then you contact your senior living community and you get them to help you do that from long distance so they can see your face, your loved one, because it's better to be able to see them than just hear their voice. And once again, you're engaging them more on a cognitive level when you can see more because you're engaging another sense, your sense of sight in addition to sound.
Right. Last week's guest, Sophia Heish, is works in long-term care and an administration manager, and she was saying how even when they use phones for the face, it was so small, it was harder to see, harder to hear, and to make sense for people, especially with cognitive problems. When they graduated to the iPad and a larger screen on the iPad, it helped dramatically. However, you know, everyone across the board in long-term care are seeing various declines in people because believing is secondary, assuming that is secondary to that isolation and not understanding why family cannot come in and visit, and the routine was shattered, right? And they're seeing people with masks on, which is really freaky anyway. And it's just I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that research you referred to as far as showing the impact on all of us as well, but certainly with cognitive problems, the impact of that.
Yeah, the pandemic is not just a physical health crisis. It's a mental health and a brain health crisis. We're so focused, most people are so focused on the physical, they're ignoring the other two, which is a real shame. But, you know, if I agree with you, the phone itself is typically too small. You need an iPad or a computer. And if your loved one doesn't have one, you know, the really good senior living communities, I think, will provide their own iPad and go to, at a specified time, to that resident to help facilitate the conversation. You know, if the community doesn't know to do that, then I would educate them that they need to be doing that, you know, and the family needs to expect that. And if the family's local and the community won't do that, then yeah, go buy an iPad or a used one. It doesn't matter. Just get the community to help you, which typically they will, because they're all about helping the seniors.
Yes.
Get them to help you in getting the conversation, because if the resident's healthier and happier, they're way easier to work with, and then they're going to stay in the community, which is ideal for the community itself.
Yeah, so you're right about all of that. I mean, we're witnessing it. I've done interviews with families about what it's like to be on the outside looking in, and now with long-term care communities and what that's been like. And you're totally right about it. We have focused on the physical aspects because that's our crisis mode in the beginning, but now it's gone on for so long that clearly is more than the physical crises. We've got that crisis as far as our connections, and which are really basic spiritual needs, which I look at that connection with others and even with nature, and just all of the questions around that. So we'll be seeing more of that for sure. And I believe this topic we're talking about today is just so relevant around all of it. And let's move on to number 3.
Okay, so 3 on my list, once again in no particular order, is what some people are calling brain foods. And brain foods are foods that are specifically good for your brain and for brain health. Now, what are brain foods? An easier way of saying that is any food that is good for the heart is good for the brain. So a lot of people are saying the Mediterranean diet is a great way to go. Primarily very strong in fruits and vegetables. Absolutely. But what I can also tell you is that there are certain foods, when you get more specific, that are more recommended than others. The number 1 recommended food is blueberries. Fresh
Yeah, that was in my
blueberries.
head. Blueberries.
Blueberries are the best one. Um, so if you only had to pick one, blueberries. If someone likes blueberries, I'd get fresh blueberries that they could snack on all day. That would be ideal.
Right.
Or you can eat fresh blueberries, the better off. They're easy to get. If you can't get them fresh, get frozen, put them in smoothies. You just don't want to coat it too much with lots of sugar, like throwing a bunch of blueberries in ice cream every day. Probably not the best idea
Oh
because
man, that was
sugars
like what I was
counteracting the benefit, but
thinking.
yeah, exactly. Or, oh, I'm getting my blueberries through blueberry muffins every day. Yeah, probably not the best way to go. Try and
Dang
get
it,
fresh
that was my number
blueberries,
two thought.
fresh blueberries, and if you can't get that, frozen in a smoothie, that's more of a healthier one because you get plenty of natural sugar in the blueberries anyway.
Yeah.
Number two on my list would probably be salmon. These salmon and tuna tend to be really good, but salmon's by far the number one fish. Then now you're getting into the vegetables. My mother really wants me to tell you the number one, which is broccoli, which I would never eat, God forbid.
I
But
love,
broccoli is probably your number one vegetable.
okay.
Spinach, kale, very big. So salads are very big, right? Then you could, strawberries are probably the number two fruit. And blueberries and strawberries are by far the top two fruits, you know, above everything else. Salmon's number one fish. Broccoli, spinach, kale is probably your top in the vegetable area. Nuts tend to be good. And I've heard a lot of talk around coconut. Particularly a lot of people are selling coconut oil as the do all and end all for brain health. Not proven, not proven, not proven. Don't fall for that one. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying they're talking about it on the internet like it's a done deal, like that's going to keep your brain healthy. And I'm telling you, there is global research does not back that up.
Right.
An interesting one for those who have a sweet tooth like me is dark chocolate in limited amounts. It's got to be limited amounts because you don't want to, once again, probably too much chocolate isn't good. Personally, I wish it was milk chocolate. I would have the healthiest brain in the world, but it's not milk chocolate. Milk chocolate is not shown to be good for the brain, but dark chocolate in limited amounts is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm bummed about that too, because I was just thinking about strawberries and milk chocolate, but that's another thing. What I've noticed is as you were going through, especially the fruits and vegetables, the more vibrant, dark the color seem to pack the most nutrients for
Absolutely.
our, yeah. And that's kind of what I use when I'm shopping. I'll look and go like, which lettuce is better? Well, the darker, you know, leafier, vibrant colors tend to do better, which, you know, blueberries, there you are. So that's great. Those are all making my stomach growl, so that's fine. Good food.
I'm getting ready for lunch now as you're talking. I'm getting hungrier.
Yeah. And so, you know, those are things that are that we can easily add to a diet. And so definitely, you know, big change happens in small steps. And
so when you think of senior living communities, you know, we've talked about three things so far. We talked about exercise. Senior living communities have exercise classes typically, and there's plenty of opportunity to exercise in them. Number two, social interaction. All these communities have activity directors, various names, but they're activity directors to create opportunities for social interaction. And number three, if you look on their menus, whether the residents eat it or not is out of their control, but typically the foods we just mentioned, they're on the menus. They're on the menus virtually every day, if not every.
Right, in the right quantities, so that moderation too. Yeah, and for caregivers at home, the exercise piece, and you know, I love the idea of the multi-generational. So sometimes it might be, you know, walking with kids, you know, or interacting with the children, and that is interaction too, and connection, just kind of talking and having a good time in that way. So it doesn't have to be some formal type program for those pieces.
Yeah, like if you're still at home and you have a dog, get someone to walk your dog and you walk with them. You don't walk the dog because that's a risk. That's a fall risk as you get older, and typically people don't realize the risk until it's too late. So
Yeah.
I would say find someone to walk your dog and walk with them. That would be great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like your intergenerational thing. Fabulous idea. I agree.
So important.
It's
Yeah. And you
also
know I
why
love doggies.
my children live 2 blocks away from my in-laws. Makes it a lot easier to do the intergenerational stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. When I hang out with my grandkids, I'm just, a kid again anyway, and time flies and I'm having a great time. And I know
You have
that's good all around.
grandchildren? You look way too young to have grandchildren. I am
Oh my
sorry.
gosh, man. Yeah. Well, I'm
16 years
61.
old when you
Yeah.
first had children?
28. Yeah. No, I'm 61. And, this is my second, kind of my second launch career-wise. So 40 years, nurse practitioner and nurse. And
Good for you.
yeah, and I just thought, I think there's other ways to help people. And
Absolutely.
yeah, but thank you for that. I can hear that all day long. Good genes, good genes.
So other ways to help people. Let's talk about number 4.
Yes. So we are to, what is it, number 4?
Yeah, 4th on my list in no particular order is taking care of your physical and mental health. I add the mental health piece because I'm a mental health person. I know the difficulties it can create that appear to be brain health issues. The research is really focused on the physical health. Once again, it's primarily around heart stuff. There's a lot of research right now showing seems to be a connection between high blood pressure and brain health issues, high cholesterol, brain health issues, obesity, brain health issues. The experts are saying it's very important to get enough sleep, which as those of us as we get older understand, it's harder and harder to do that. And particularly to try and get REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, which is the deeper sleep. So some people will tell me that they think they're getting enough sleep, but it's because they're napping throughout the day and they're never sleeping for more than like 2 hours at a time. And I would rather you have a 6 hours straight through than 4 2-hour naps for a total of 8 hours, because you'll be better off. The solid sleep tends to be the better sleep. So once again, this ties into the brain foods part also. If you're eating right, if you're exercising, you're more likely to not have a high blood pressure and the cholesterol issues and the obesity issues. Diabetes is another thing that you need to watch for also. It's a big risk factor. And so this is about taking care of your body, seeing doctor regularly to get checkups, when something seems off to get it checked out, to make sure you're taking your medications, particularly when we're talking about seniors. One of the scary things for people who aren't aware they're having brain health issues is if they start to have short-term memory lapses and don't realize they're forgetting to take their medications. That's a big issue. So,
or doubling up accidentally, forgot they took it and take it again. And yeah.
You know, for seniors, it's really important to have a system, even before you have any brain health issues, to have a system to know when to take meds and if you've taken your medications. You know, these pill boxes are great, but I've seen other people come up with their own systems. And having a system is really important. It just is.
Yeah, love all that. And I want to reiterate a point you made. And, we're going through and separating out these items, but in truth, they work together synergistically, or all for one another. And when one improves, the other one has the potential to improve and impacts you. When you change one, it impacts the other. It has to. That's how it works. And so
Absolutely.
we're separating it, but they're, yeah. Sleep is a big one. Sleep is a tough thing. And even when I was seeing patients clinically and things, sleep was oftentimes the number one issue. And people kind of took it for granted and say, well, of course I don't sleep well. I haven't for years, and would not even think to mention it. And
I'll tell you another one with seniors that a lot of people don't think of is hydration. Getting enough water or liquids in your body to stay hydrated, because when you're not hydrated, it can create a lot of different health issues for you.
Right. And especially little ladies will say, well, if I drink more, I'll have to go to the bathroom more. and then it's harder for me to get out, or I, don't want to keep running to the bathroom or worrying about leaking. And so I just won't drink as much. And it's like the domino effect for problems.
Yep.
And it's water. Yeah, it's water. And so, well, there you go. All right. Are we ready for the final one? Because this is
number 5. And what my company what Inspire really focuses on and helping people with is challenging cognitive activities. Now, the key word in there is challenging. Now, you've probably heard of computer programs that are out there for your brain health, and they're all making all these great claims that if you will play their computer app, their computer games, their computer modules, that their research shows that it's good for the brain, and it'll hold off dementia and all this wonderful stuff. One of the things I learned a long time ago is when you hear about research, find out the people doing the research if they have a financial interest in what they're researching. If so, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean it's not true. It just means you might want to look to other sources. So let's talk about computer modules and computer games to keep your brain sharp. Research, real clear on this one. If you're doing it by yourself, probably not going to help a lot. If you're doing it with someone who is leading you through them, research shows it to be effective. So the question would be, now why is that? If it's the same thing, why is that? And here's the thing. What I can tell you from leading through lots of clients through this, lots of seniors, is people tend to want to do really well in the games. And therefore, they're doing cognitive activities. They don't want to challenge themselves because they want to do well. So like with Inspire, what we'll do is we'll play a game with them and see where they can, how difficult we can make it to where they can get a perfect score. And then wherever that is, we're going to make it a little harder until they can't. That's the level we want them playing at. And then when they master that, we're going to make it a little harder. Another thing is we're going to have them do a variety of different activities. Like if I'm playing a computer application that's got 30 different brain health games, and I find one I really love, playing it over and over and over again is going to get me really good at the game. But the games are involved to help you with a brain health issue or a skill. Rather, you're more challenged by doing 5 different ones working on the same skill than 5 different times. So if I'm playing a game that works on short-term visual memory, I am more challenged to find 5 different games doing that than one game and doing it 5 times.
Okay.
So the research says the key is being challenged, and having an extra person there walking you through them. They have no vested interest in whether you get a perfect score or not. That's what you want to do. Like I would want to do. I want to get the perfect score. They're the ones that are going to challenge you. And the research shows you need that person. Plus, what we're doing in Inspire is when we're doing that, it gives us an opportunity to teach skills. Like short-term memory can be enhanced if you know certain things. So it gives us an opportunity to teach some of those certain things. Another thing I'd tell you is the what I call the myth, the senior living community myth, that if you do crossword puzzles and word finds, that your short-term memory is going to be in good shape. Not true. Crossword puzzles and word finds are good in my mind for 2 things: long-term memory and word retention. It has nothing to do with short-term memory. So when people are relying on those to keep their short-term memory intact, they're working on the wrong thing. So oftentimes with Inspire, people, particularly when they're not going to use our services, is, okay, so what should I be doing, right? And Carmen, that's what you're going to want. So go ahead, ask away.
What should we be doing?
Oh, okay. So if you're not using us and you're on your own, here are some really good things. Learn anything new. It doesn't matter. Anything that will challenge you that you're going to have to know later on, learn anything new. There's research out there showing learning how to knit is good for your brain. There's research showing that learning digital photography is good for your brain. It's not the what you're learning, it's that you're learning. So when I'm talking with seniors, my number one thing that I recommend is technology. Technology for me came into being when I was in college. So that means for seniors, it came into their adult years when technology came their way, and who knows what they knew and if they ever grasped it. But those of us who have gotten into technology know it opens up a whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much to learn for a senior. But that's a great opportunity for your brain, because you're going to have to use so many different things in your brain to process all this information. Getting someone, grandchild, a volunteer, a community member, even a friend that's good at technology, anyone, to teach them things about technology that they can use later, great. Like there are community colleges, for instance, that are offering free classes to seniors in technology things. I remember showing a client once whose granddaughter set up a Facebook page for her, but she had no idea how to use it. That was what we worked on, learning how to use Facebook.
Right,
and
that down.
I didn't care whether she used Facebook or not. It was just a great opportunity to teach her something new and have her really work on her brain.
Well, I so love all of this piece. I love it so much, and I want to talk more about the challenging cognitive piece of it. I think let's do a part 2 and really deep dive into, because I think when people hear I have to learn something new, the fear wall comes up.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, and how are we going to do that? And oh my gosh, I probably, all the fear related talk happens. And so maybe we can talk about that and what people can do to get started. And I also want to know, like you're talking about some of how you work with your clients, and I know this is going to help us all, and then how we can contact you. Well, in fact, your contact information will be in the description here, but we're going to also talk about that in our part 2. So
let's summarize 5 things.
Yes.
Okay. That research, these are the ones that research globally have proven to be effective. 1, exercise, anything to get the heart moving. 2, social interaction, engaging with other people, whether face-to-face or during this pandemic, otherwise, particularly virtually is better if possible. Number 3, brain foods, particularly blueberries, salmon, broccoli, spinach, kale, all really good stuff. Number 4, take care of your physical health and mental health, get enough sleep, stay hydrated, see doctors, take your meds when you're supposed to. And number 5 is challenging cognitive activities, which one example is learning anything new.
And that's one example. We're going to talk about some more too.
Yes.
So I love all that. Yay. So with that being said, we thank you all for watching Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia with Ron Nevelow, and we will be back soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.